Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the Frontline Changes report. And so the Frontline change, there is significant change over at the Kreminna front. So this is the Kreminna front. So this is Kreminna, and the front line over at Terny and Yampolivka, we are seeing some significant change due to the reportings we have. This is by Deep State UA, the mapping by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. They reported that the Russians have basically captured a lot of grounds over in the Terny and Yampolivka region. We're going to zoom in a little bit more. So the Russian forces have made huge progress through this major forest region and along these tree lines. And they are heading in multiple directions, and they are also fighting through Yampolivka down these two tree lines, and they are hitting this Ukrainian controlled forest region here already. And previously the Russians have already captured this area, and apparently they are holding the line along this tree line, and they are attacking from other vectors. Clearly, when the Russians hit here, the Ukrainians probably will expect the Russians to hit through the forest, but so the Ukrainians probably would have sent reinforcement in this direction to hold the advance. However, the Russians then attack in all different other directions, and these reports all come in only over the past 24 hours, because yesterday I was planning to do the reports and the frontline changes report. There was actually no frontline changes report yesterday, so all this report is all over happenings over the past 24 hours, and the Russians made massive progress, and they are getting very close to Yampolivka and Terny. So, but it is still going to be tough going, because these are all a lot of forests to go through, and but of course we are talking about a few days. We're talking about, like, this is 4th, so around 2 days to capture all these grounds is still a massive progress. It's very fast. Continue at this rate, we will probably see Russians hitting Terny and Yampolivka settlement, the actual urban area, by the weekend. But of course, don't bet on that. The Ukrainians are definitely going to react by sending reinforcements quickly to hold on this offensive. So anyway, we move away from this front line. We go on to the next frontline change. It's over at Ivanivske. So over at the Bakhmut front. So this is Bakhmut city. If I zoom out a bit, you can see where it is. At Bakhmut, over in the southwest of Bakhmut, over at Ivanivske, according to Ryba's mapping, they claim that the Russians have taken some foothold in this area on the eastern part of Ivanivske. If I zoom in a bit, you probably might see this is the entrance towards Ivanivske, and it seems like the Russians have taken some grounds along this forest as they continue the attack in this area here. This will act as some kind of a foothold or a stepping stone for the continued attack on Ivanivske. You are not going to hit through the center road and expect success. So the Russians is likely going to go up and probably pincer or take this entire outskirt region of Ivanivske, so they can build a stronger and longer front line to launch an attack in more directions. However, further in the south, the Ukrainians did counterattack. They did not change the front line because the Russians got ejected, but the Russians also shelled the attackers and the Ukrainians withdraw. So this was a report from Ryba, and as such, the front line did not really change because it remains as a gray zone, because the Ukrainians continue to map in this way, and the Russians claim that they are here. So the Ukrainians attacked and withdrew after unable to hold the ground. With the Russians getting pushed back, doesn't change our mapping, is still a gray zone. So no frontline change in this, but I just wanted to mention this. And over at the Avdiivka front, so over at the Avdiivka front, this Avdiivka city, this is where the in the north of Donetsk, there is some slight change. I looked at the Deep State UA's mapping. They have some frontline change in this area here. The Russians seems to have get closer to this Dacha region in this area here. So along the roads, the Ukrainians probably still are holding the these buildings around here. So this battle continues. So it's not a huge change. However, the gray zone is big. So if you actually look at Deep State US mapping, the gray zone is actually rather huge. So so the Russians could be penetrating or operating within the gray zones that we are probably not aware of. Definitely they are not confident that the Ukrainians have strong positions within the gray zone, which is why they put the gray zone there. So we shall continue to monitor and see how this progress over at the northern part of Avdiivka front. Over the also at the Avdiivka front, but further all the way to the other end of the Avdiivka front at Nevelske, there is a geolocation of Russian forces attacking Ukrainian stronghold. So if you see this square or rectangular thing, this is actually a fortification of the Ukrainians over at Nevelske on the eastern part. This is Nevelske. So they have a very strong position around here. So in this geolocation, this video, the Russian tanks actually drove all the way to very close. I think the distance is, I think merely 200 meters. It's really close. And at a 200-meter range, they fired at this entrenchment. And this shows that the Ukrainians do not have positions along these three lines. So however, I will not entirely map this as a Russian capture. I will continue to put this as a claim. So because this is actually a frontline geolocation, so the Russians did not have an entrenchment over there. They just sent the tanks in. So we will map it as the Russian mapping. We will extend all the way to this point, but we will not change the Ukrainian mapping on our DPA's mapping. So but it just shows that the Russians are still making progress. And if this falls, if this got taken by the Russians, then the next attack will be on the Nevelske. So this is actually pretty important entrenchment. And we shall but I believe the next they will probably bombard it with TOS 1A and then rush it if they really want to capture it. So anyway, the next is at Vuhledar. So in over the Donetsk front, so Nevelske was here. So now we are coming to Vuhledar. So at the Vuhledar region, there is some slight change in the north of Mikhailske. The Russian forces progress, captured this area here. The geolocation is actually an attack on Ukraine on Russian forces over here. The geolocation by Crimean Caprice showed the Russian forces getting shelled by the Ukrainian forces. So the Russians have already progressed somewhat in this area here. This is the first indication that the Russians actually made some progress in this area here due to the geolocation. So so that's the frontline change at Vuhledar. So this is the frontline changes report. The SITREP will be later after I need to go out for Chinese New Year shopping, and I'll be back to do the SITREP later. So I'll see you guys in the next update.